Hi everyone, welcome to Nothing podcast, the whisperers of all tech gist in Africa and even global at some point, right? Because again, everybody will still collect one way or the other. So we have an amazing conversation regarding Oga-Centered products and horrible bosses. So it's like a combination, a collabo conversation today. And I'm having an amazing, co-host. My co-host again is here. You'll be seeing these faces a lot. Hey. So let me do it again. So we have Trust Jamin, the dev advocate and a technical writer, and everything in between. You get any of these? Bring
these active like Chivita.
The wine.
Sharp.
Okay. For today we have two amazing guests. Since we have two conversations, we have urban bosses and Oga-Centered products. So we have two amazing guests who maybe one way or the other have experienced horrible boss and Oga-Centered products. So we have to make it balance. A male and female. Inclusivity. You wine? So we're having Bella.
Lady
Hi,
Bella.
Lady
guys.
Bella, right?
Yeah,
She's a product designer and also design mentor. Last time I checked, she's not head of community. So Bella, I see you and I did the same.
No, she dey hot now.
Bella, Pascal, is
You've
it
not seen her on
Pascal?
social media.
Pascal the cafe.
Pasta di cafe.
Yeah, Pasta the cafe. That's something as
You
well.
guys, stop! You're teasing me now.
Ah.
Hey! For an amazing guest, we have another amazing one.
Yeah, amazing. That's it. Plenty.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Amazing. Everybody
Best
just
good to go
amazing.
find an adjective. Amazing, awesome,
Awesome.
super
Superb.
true, superb. They say those are ChatGPT words according to this guy. What's his name again? Y Combinator guy said superb. All those words are. But yeah, let's leave that one for another day. Maybe we'll have an AI topic.
Yes, sir.
But
Coming up soon.
so we're having Kutajbaba as our co-host as our guest, as our second guest for this amazing conversation. So like the topic implied, Oga-Centered products. So not just even from a design perspective, from an engineering perspective, how your boss influence decisions on products you are building. Let's say for example, you are to design a particular logo. You don't do user research, done everything to make sure that okay, this is the right logo. Your boss might even say, this makes sense. I think we should.
This is good. Yeah.
Went home, came back. I'm not feeling the green.
I'm not feeling it.
I'm feeling the green.
This your design is hurting my eyes. It's
Why
hurting my
why
eyes.
don't you do pink? With no decision, right? So that's the conversation we're having today. How that affects product development, how that affects even products, not even development, even in the markets itself. How does it affect the growth of the company and also the growth of the individual that are building those particular amazing products. And after that, we dive into horrible bosses. You see, the conversation of horrible bosses, right, is a long conversation. When I want to dive to the point whereby pay disparity, you find that you are doing more work, paying you less. Company raised $3 million, they pay salary of 150k, 200k to their mid-level folks, right? Or you are burnt out. You're telling your manager or your boss saying, I'm having these issues. I'm not focused. Can I take a leave? Leave care.
If you leave, that's your last day. If you
leave,
you leave.
I swear, you leave.
If you leave, you leave.
You leave.
That's on that part. Or we can still drive the conversation whereby let me know if you were sexual predictors, right?
This is a safe space. This is a safe space.
Where
You
your
don't know
company
English?
That
is telling
sounds like
you.
a trap.
If you don't know
Exactly.
English,
Where company telling you it's a safe space. I know it's a safe space. So don't worry. Our company is like a family. This is sad. This you are telling me. Does family do it together? They don't. So that's what our conversation is all about today. So male, female, male. So let me face you, right? Don't worry, relax.
Okay.
Relax. So from your own experience, right? I'm trying to paint a picture whereby is everyone can relate to that particular scenario. So, for example, we will classify this as what's the word? Oga-centered product, Oga-centered design, whereby you were given a particular task or you work on a particular project, and you were told that you have to execute X, Y, Z. And after executing X, Y, Z, you were told to make a particular change. But from your perspective, that particular change is not really coming from a place of, let's say, thought, or from a place
of business requirements.
But it's saying change design to this particular. Is that Oga-centered, or maybe you see something you're not seeing?
Good point.
I would say that's Oga-centered though, because most people.
But what if it's the wife that doesn't like the color and they want you to change it?
You don't have the context. You just came to work and say, I'm not feeling this. I slept over it.
It's not giving.
And I feel like it's not giving. Those kind of comments.
It's not giving.
Make it pop.
That's what they use. Make it pop. See, I would say it's Oga-centered because, first of all, it might not necessarily be something that you have an experience at to be able to give feedback on.
Okay.
You know, let's take for instance a design. We finish designing and you go back home and you come. I mean, in most cases, they might approve the design and you kind of have this peace of mind. And then maybe the person goes back home and comes back and says, oh, so I had this dream, or I had a new inspiration, and stuff like that.
Joseph
I had a new inspiration. I mean, I've had an experience like that before, and trust me, it was not a funny thing because that particular design involved dashboards. You're a designer now, you know how these things are. Designing dashboards can be very complex, and then outside of that, designing the external pages, and then you come back and you tell me you have a new inspiration that you want to change design direction, you know, or that you looked at it again and you didn't really like what you saw, you slept over it. I would say that's Oga-centered because you feel like you have the ultimate say, so whoever is working on that product doesn't really have much to do. So your own is, I'm the boss here, let me just give my feedback and you have to implement it. You know, that's what most of them think. So I would say it's Oga-centered.
But they are managers, they are the bosses, so that means their decisions matters. That means their decisions are correct.
No. So being an Oga in a company does not qualify you to give certain feedbacks. Now that's why most companies have structures in place. You know, like the design team, you have the design manager, you have, you know, some other people in the design team, the engineering team as well, right? That's why we have people that have been put in place, certain structures that have been set in those companies, so that if an employee works on a product or works on something, for instance, it is the work of that manager who has maybe had years of experience in this thing to give proper and actionable feedback. I mean, as the owner of the product, obviously you have a say. You know, you can give the direction of what you're trying to build, tell them, you know, okay, this is how I want this to go, this is how I want this to, but being able to give that technical feedback to build that product, like, I don't think it's that person's responsibility.
So I think you're speaking from the perspective of companies that have structure and they have like layers of leadership.
Yeah.
Right?
So what about for startups?
Small companies where you're reporting directly to the CEO or
Yes.
directly to the client or the owner of the business. There is no like you're the designer or you're the developer and the Oga is the one. So there's no like manager to protect you. It's just you directly.
Yeah,
to
you
the
directly
boss.
to your...
At that point, I mean, it doesn't mean you should micromanage somebody or give unreasonable
You
feedback.
have introduced a new term into the conversation.
Micromanage.
Micromanage.
It doesn't mean you should do that.
So you say Oga-centered products
Yeah.
is somehow relating to micromanage,
Yes.
and that would that affect productivity? Would that affect morale? Would that affect
Like,
the way you work?
the team
Yes.
or-
A lot.
I think so. Okay, so for in terms of Oga-centered products, right? So it I'm not going to use that word. Okay, so in terms of
Say it.
Let's
Jump
hear it.
your uptake.
okay, so in terms of
let's have it.
Oga-centered product development, right? So first off, everybody has the way they lead. Like every Oga boss, they have leadership is something that is very difficult to. You can't say this is the way to lead. Everybody has their own perspective of the way they lead, and it's based on where they're coming from or what they learned or where they worked before, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of Oga-Centered, for me personally, when your boss or anybody starts saying "I feel," I think for me personally as a designer, that's something I watch out for. If the reason for my decision is I think that somebody said that, then know that it's not from a point of ration. Like, know that it's, for me, it's a red flag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So in terms of, as a designer, first of all, as a developer, as a tech, if somebody is coming to you from the perspective of feeling, it means that they are trying to influence your decision or whatever you're doing based on opinion. Okay. And when you're trying to drive development or whatever you're doing based on opinion, there's going to be a problem. Right?
But what if my feeling is always right?
That's a very interesting part. So as a creative or designer or developer, or whoever is in this position now, you also have to check, right? Records. Like whenever my boss comes to me about something, what has been the history of, let's say that sometimes, honestly, you may have your opinion or you don't think what the person is saying makes sense. They are not able to convince you.
Yeah.
But we applied it and it worked. Right? So how the track record, how has it been going? If it has worked a number of times, even though you have the data, because I think that sometimes you really you can bend data to tell you what you want. Okay. It's not all data, but sometimes you can look at the same set of data, you can interpret it different, this idea of half full or half empty. Yeah. Right? So what I would just say is, of course, micromanaging comes in, but driving or leading based on opinion, for me, the words I look at for are I feel, I think that.
Okay,
but on the last part you just said just now, I want to ask a question that. So do you mean that if my feeling is always right or my opinion is right on some cases, does that mean that I'm a good Oga-led product company? No, because it's not sounding like there are some good Oga-led products.
There's some appliers.
So in terms of, for the person in that position, and you have to, one very good trait I look at, you have to question things. Okay. Why do you feel this way?
Okay. Question your boss.
No, I'm not questioning, sir. This thing you said, it makes sense, but you ask it politely. Sure it's not like you are trying to say no, even though it doesn't make sense. But you have to, you have to find a way to ask politely. Just trying to find the reason, because sometimes they may not even know the reason why they are probably, let's say for instance, on their way to the office. They saw something on the road. They just saw something. Maybe they saw probably you are working on an e-commerce product, and they saw the way people were moving around. They just saw something that just triggered something. So when they come, Bella, change this into this, right?
Yes.
Then they don't know what changed that. Yeah. Not every time. Sometimes they don't know and they don't know what. They don't see anything. They just wake up one morning on the rough side of the day.
So how about cases where this person, Yoga, has a feeling, because you've already said you look out for red flags I feel, I think, and they're so what if this person has an idea of what they want and they just communicate it? So you work on a design, they know that is not it, but they cannot necessarily tell you this is what I want. Yes. If you're looking out for I feel, right? Because they might tell you, I don't think this works. I don't think this works. They can't really give you that. Yeah, exactly.
It's a skill. That's a very, so we're not going to go into this part of junior, intermediate, and senior. Alright, for me, so one thing I try to tell when I of course I mentor designers, right? So one thing I try to tell you to do is, it's a soft skill. You need to know how to figure out what you are not in their head, but you have to find a way to get into their head.
Okay.
Right? So in that scenario, what I typically do is, I'm not going to design, I'll just stop design. I'll go on Dribble. Okay. You know what you want. I'll start showing you different things. Which one looks like what you want? I'll find a way to get that image out of your head. Okay, send me a screenshot of something that looks like what you want.
So you can understand him better.
Then I think I've worked with somebody who basically so that's the way I think. Just a quick response to your question. That's one way I think you can just get it out of their head. Right?
Okay. That makes sense.
So again, have you ever been in a position of Oga-Centered product before?
Yes.
Are you able to navigate? Can you just paint the story? No, you cannot. You can hide the name, hide the company.
No, I'm not mentioning. I'm just thinking of the best.
Best scenario.
You have been in that scenario every time.
Just
if
for
you
one.
have freelanced before, you have worked with some clients where this project I'm doing it just for the money.
I think freelancing is a different.
Okay, let's
game because let's talk about business, like what's it called, company led product.
Okay, so in terms of there's no way I'm going to bend this story without it being.
Without mentioning freelance.
Say the story.
No, not freelance.
Say the story. Remove the name.
In terms of Oga-Centered product development, right? So
say company A.
Whatever. I'm not going to mention, but of course,
Mr. A.
No, in terms of Oga-Centered product development, right? So we've had scenario where the boss in this company now, they wanted free hands on. Okay, ideally, right? So designer, you're supposed to like, when you're designing a website, you're supposed to like design the website, right? Like the landing page and narrative.
Yeah, before you.
Of course, there are scenarios for that, and when not, probably when you may not use that, right?
As developers, you should always design before you give us.
So the thing now is that as designers, when designing a page, right, there's this narrative I use a lot. If you are designing a landing page or a website, you are basically having a conversation, or you are trying to communicate with somebody, or you are trying to sell. So see it like, I'm trying to sell this product in a shop. Somebody walks into my boutique and I'm trying to sell them what I have in my boutique.
Yeah.
Right? How am I going to lead that conversation? So that's what you're doing basically with a website.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'll tell you that you can get the best luxury items you're looking for. That's my H1, my header copy.
Yeah.
So down the page, I'll tell you, this guy, like that's your guy, this is where he buys it. What am I doing? Social proof.
Yeah.
So everything you have in a website, right? Or in a web page, is basically you are trying to convince somebody to buy or whatever that company is selling, either a service, an item, a software to subscribe or something, right?
Yeah.
Now, as designers, when designing websites or landing pages, personally, I have that narrative in mind. I know that somebody is going to come on this page and I have to lead them to take an action. Now, in this context, the boss did not see it that way. They wanted to play with the landing page. However, they want, like, I can decide what the hero section is, what section will follow. Like, I want to be able to position anything the way I want. They don't know that in design we don't just, it's not just like
things, we
don't just arrange things. No,
there has to be a reason for everything.
It follows. You get so. What is the question again? Because I want to. So the point I'm trying to make.
Tell the story. Let me rephrase the question.
So in this story, things were not like, the website did not yield the result it's supposed to yield. Reason being that the conversation was broken. Probably I'm telling you we sell the best shoes. Then the next thing I'm telling you probably buy now or something. Like there was no flow in the communication, because sometimes when somebody comes to your site, I'll use this, I'm a designer, right? When somebody comes to your page, first of all, you have to know the kind of people you expect. Yeah. That's why you see that some website they use carousel. They're trying to speak to a different audience. Now, as a salesperson in a shop, when somebody enters your shop, as a smart salesperson, you need to know how to sell to them. If a married man enters into your shop, you are supposed to know the shoe, the trouser. Like, you're supposed to know what to pick and bring to. You don't just show them.
Yeah, that's true.
If a young boy enters your shop or a lady enters your shop, if you do unisex, you have to know the section to take them to.
Yeah.
So a designer thinks that way. But anybody else will typically think that might not be just website. Just put this thing in. So from the Oga's perspective or as a designer perspective, you need to educate your boss that this is how this thing works, or this is how it flows. It is not just, we don't just piece things together. And your boss has to be humble enough to listen to you that you are making sense. Because some will be like, I beg, forget it. See, that testimony, I beg, make it put on here. I like that.
Make
yes,
it
I like this.
Make it pop.
Add the extra color.
So I think that's what I would just.
Yeah, we're able to navigate that particular scenario.
No, that one, the powers that be.
So you had to succumb.
There were a lot of bottlenecks. Like the hierarchy was too much. Alright, so for me to influence that, I have to influence the next layer. Like I don't have that. I cannot directly influence
where decision is coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more.
It's very hard.
Some Oga-Centered, or whether you know that the person is Oga-Centered or not, you just have to accept.
Have you been in that situation before? In an Oga-Centered product once before?
Yes, so. Yes, so.
Job gist and drop mic. Job gist and drop mic.
A lot actually, but this particular one stood out. So, I was to work on a fintech platform. So let's say CarrierWise, PiggyVest. It basically had all those features, save, invest, and all of that. But they had a different concept. So I started working on this product. I mean, from the ideation stage, I was always talking with the boss because it was more like an employee to boss kind of relationship. There was no hierarchy. So I was always talking to him, oh, this is where I'm currently at. Whenever I work on the research or add more screens, this is what I'm doing. And then for a while, he was giving feedback and approving. I think that period, was it PiggyVest or CarrierWise? I can't remember any of those products that dropped a new feature. Oh my god.
Change objective. Let's launch this new feature.
Direction has changed. Sharp.
Direction changed within 24 hours. I was like, you need to drop everything you're doing now. Our competitor just launched a feature.
Competitor, okay.
Do you know they gave him updates that this is new? Now this one the boom for market.
I don't know.
I think I entered the market before.
No, like this is a new product. We've not even launched MVP
and
one. Oh god.
I think one thing that companies get right, that I tell like fellow designers a lot, is that the fact that this company has that feature doesn't mean you should have it. Some companies they are just observing some features and waiting to kill it.
Yeah.
But because
there are some companies that
they are tracking that feature. They are tracking that feature and they know that feature is not like, compared to other features, people are not using it for their product. But you seeing it in their product because they are a competition, you want to copy it. How does it fit in?
But copying doesn't mean you succeed now.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Like the fact that you are assuming that they are succeeding, you don't have access to their analytics.
Yeah, true.
So you copy it and you have it in your product just to overload your.
Yeah,
that's another topic.
Back to your story.
That whole situation, it was crazy. So while we were trying to get out of it, he asked me to implement something else. Yeah. So, I mean,
wait.
You finished that vision.
I had not finished. So like we're still talking about how we can't work. He now brought another one. He now said,
"That's a third, like a second feature."
Second thing, yes. He was like, he wants the direction of the design to change in the sense that a user should be able to see the dashboard of another user. Who does that in a fintech platform?
Was that
wait.
That's the topic.
I think it was for a place of feeling. Honestly, I think it was almost everybody around me at that period knew what I was going. I think it was so frustrating. Like I want a user. Let's say you're on the app. I'm on the app.
I should be able to dashboard.
See exactly.
Fintech products.
Like what are the?
What was the idea behind it?
What are the things on that dashboard even? What can
it's a fintech platform, obviously.
A fintech platform.
Savings
is the platform. It's not a life.
No, it's not.
They
folded up. They folded up as soon as they launched.
What was the why?
What was the idea behind it? Like, what was the reason behind it?
See, they wants to like make everybody feel
open access.
Welcome. Community.
Make everybody feel like
finance.
make everyone feel like they're together or something like that.
I
mean, as a designer, right, I was trying to advise him against it. Like this, from the security aspect, aside from other principles, from the security aspect, this does not work. The next thing, this is why I don't like working with women. People are so stubborn.
Wow.
It was a whole lot of up
this
and down.
Collabo. Oga-Centered product and horrible boss.
Collabo, join them.
He started nagging at some point how he doesn't like working with women. Women do that. Women do this. And for me, at that point, we dragged the project for a very long time that I wanted to leave. Like it got to that point because at some points in my career, I told myself, if this product is something that I will not be proud of, then I don't want to be a part of it. So there were some products that I declined. I don't want to work on it. But this particular one, I had been on it for a long time.
How long were you on the project?
It was meant to be a 3-month thing, but we're on it for like 7 months.
Or more.
But they paid 7 months.
They pay you all the
for
So you're still on the 3 months contract too?
We're still on the 3 months contract.
Wow.
Like a lot of things was wrong with that.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
This your story is a lot. This your story can be the foundation of the whole podcast. Just wait.
So many topics are springing out of it.
Exactly.
3 months contract.
3 months.
Turn 7 months contract.
Exactly.
No pay.
Does
No
the pay affect the 7 months or the pay ended at 3 months? Or you never see pay at all?
The pay was supposed to be, we'll pay you 50%, and then when you're done with the project, we'll pay you the remaining 50%. So I did not even
Did
see
you
the
collect your
50.
balance?
After long drag,
Did you finish
drag, I finished the work. There was an external intervention. So after the whole dragging and dragging back and forth, he had to call. Thankfully, I think God directed him well, but he called someone else.
One
He
of them
called
they had
someone
God
else
project.
to come and vet the whole thing that we were working on. So we had a series of calls. I explained the whole scenario to the person, showed the person what I had worked on, and the person brought a fresh perspective. So that was how we were able to move on from that. And then I worked on it, finished it, collected my money, and I told myself, Bella, if you see any red flag,
Run with your head.
So, okay, I think another scenario whereby you have been part of a particular horrible culture and you're able to navigate your way and still maintain steez while navigating your way.
Why navigating?
And succeed in doing. Let's say, for example, the boss brought one particular new objective and new opinion. I think we should direct the car to this way. Where is the feeling come from? You don't know. But able to see direct the car again. For your guy man, if you see the car, they go east, but now west the car they go. And you succeeded in moving the car from east to west. Everything was okay. Ever been able to navigate that thing?
I think something close to that would be a situation where I had to work on 2 variations of designs. Yes. So aside from working on 2 variations of designs, you conduct usability tests on both. So let's say version A, this is what my boss wants. I have implemented everything he wants, how he wants it, and then I have proposed a new one in version B. So this is version B. This is how I think it should work, following design principles and all of that. And then after that, conduct not necessarily a very huge testing, right? Just conduct like short usability tests to test both of the variations to see which one works better. So that has really helped me in a lot of cases, because by the time they see the data, in most cases, right, they might be right. Let's say you finish working on that, you conduct the usability test. Someone might actually, maybe majority of the people you interview might like his variation more than the one I proposed, right? So data doesn't lie, and so far so good. That's what I always use to get myself out of such situation. Like you're bent on, let's do this, and I'm bent on.
The person sees the data and it's not in their favor, still want to have their way.
Bring fresh perspectives. If it does not still work, we'll just lock up.
It has been.
We'll just lock up.
Ever been able to navigate your way out of the whole thing? Or
I've not had
gradually they win at the end?
I've not had that typical scenario where
you can speak on the freelance end too, not just company wise, right? You can speak on the freelance.
I've not had that scenario. Even freelancing, right? In terms of so I've worked on a project where I didn't really understand. I thought I did understand the product, right? But after running quite a distance, right, it was clear that I wasn't going the direction they wanted.
You know your own risk. You look back.
So after reviews, so the client was even the one who tested. It was like I showed this to a number of persons, and this was the opinion, right? So I had to slow down, right? So in terms of basically on that project, what happened was that the client was basically I was working very closely because it seemed like it was an industry I wasn't familiar with. Like I have experience with logistics, fintech, health, and other industries, but this was in compliance, like regulations, right?
Wow.
I don't have so much experience in it. So the client has a wealth of experience in it. So it was safe for me to follow their lead. But also, where I come in now is like design principles.
Yeah.
You would not tell me to use where I'm supposed to use like a primary color or a secondary color. You would not tell me to. You would like, so it basically tells me let's lay it out like this because of this what we're trying to achieve, right? So Oga-Centered, yes, not really micromanaging, but I think that's just my experience when it comes to. But I've not had such a scenario where somebody was basically dictating what needs to be done, and I didn't really have a say without having a reason for it, right? Okay. So yeah.
Okay. There's that comes to mind, right? When having this conversation, I think for you said for horrible boss, for Oga-Centered, you feel like for sign of red flag, I feel like what I think, I feel. I don't know what you really feel like. People like say I'll be horrible boss. So what are red flags, right? You look at when it comes to horrible boss, bad culture, Oga-Centered movements. What are the various signs to look out for? You just if you see that the company is moving this way, or maybe do your interview stage, or maybe your first 3 months at the job, or the moment the client hand over that project to you, or even the conversation of the client, you feel like go long. What are the various signs?
Okay, so first of all, one very okay, if it's a client, I think I also work for in a typical work environment. How hands-on does the person wants to be on the project, right? Like how into the project they want to be. There are some people who if they can open Figma and design it, so they will, right? So from the very beginning, look at how involved, how eager they are to be involved.
Is that a green flag or red one?
So it just stirs your curiosity. Some people can be very involved because they are passionate about it, right? So, but what you now look out for? Okay, this person is very passionate about this project. Yes, but like I did like dictative on what exactly needs to be done. I think that's what I would say. Like when somebody is telling you, I want it done this exact way. These things they are in layers basically. So as a creative, as a designer, you have to like, as the person is moving, I don't say moving mad. As the person is moving in this direction, go with them in that direction, but like observe, right? So the person is very curious. They want to be hands-on on the project. Okay, why? I didn't want to dictate exactly because I think I was in that point where I had to tell the client that I am the designer here. No, like we're not quarreling, but like you saw my work, I sent you my portfolio, you liked it, and you hired me, which means that you trusted what I did not. If you could do it yourself, you would have not hired me. Let me do my work, right? Yeah. So I had to go. That was in the one e-commerce app I worked on. So the guy, and one very important thing, very very important, right, is confidence. As a creative, as a designer, when you are speaking to the Oga or the boss, your level of confidence will tell. They may be instructing you, but are you confident? You are not arrogantly, you are not saying no, you are not quarreling. Sir, but why should we do it that way? And also, depends on the person, because some people are like, I'm telling you to do it that way, asking why. Who are you? Who are you? If it's that kind of person,
what's going on here?
That one, I don't know what to say about it. But if somebody that is trying to, of course, they want to tell you what to do. Yeah. But when you ask them questions politely, they answer you, right? Yeah. So it depends on your level of confidence.
So this thing of confidence that you're saying, I think confidence is majorly there when
confidence can become arrogance if you don't have experience.
Yeah, that's true. We're coming to that part. Confidence can become arrogance when you have the experience.
Yes.
When you are that senior designer or this. So what if I'm a beginner, bruh? How do I do it? My Oga won't kill me. I'm a beginner. I just started work last week.
That one go hard.
You seek for mentorship now. You go for consultation.
Huh?
You seek for
so how do I do
mentorship.
it? Any advice for any beginner that my boss is always demanding?
As a beginner, is 50-50, right? So one is try to make your one way to do it is let it not be your word against their word. I think you would have probably anybody watching this would read this online if you're a designer. Let it not be your word against their word.
Yes.
Have an article somewhere, research somewhere, an opinion that is not your own, probably coming from another expert that they would respect. Right? I'll mention something coming from maybe another design expert that you would expect. respect, that kind of like supports what they are saying, what you are saying.
Yeah.
And also be humble enough to know that when what you are saying don't make like what you talk don't make sense. Sometimes actually what the boss is actually saying makes sense.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Swallow your pride
and move on.
Accept it and move on, right?
But what if it doesn't make sense?
If it doesn't make that, that's what I'm saying. So you can look for other data. Then one other easy way to do it. In a toxic environment, this may not work. But one other easy way to do it is look for somebody whose opinion.
We're coming to that toxic environment.
Look for somebody's opinion who they respect.
Okay.
So for instance, I know that if I tell this man, I'm trying to convince him, but he's not listening. But if I convince maybe Jamin, for instance, Jamin will understand because
convince his wife.
So Jamin can exactly. So if I talk to Jamin,
he will not be heard.
Jamin will come pull my things. I say, boss, this thing, alpha, see, and this, you say, like, okay. So that way, I'm able to get what I want, but not directly. So just different ways. If your data part doesn't, if you are trying to do research and it's not working, try to go to somebody. Doesn't work. But if data doesn't work, somebody else doesn't work. That's it. Toxic.
So
okay, no, you can go. I just want to just ask if what are the red flags you also look at for when it comes to toxic workplace, horrible boss. Seems you have been in that position a lot.
But how do you
so
know?
How do you
know that the workplace
I've not
is
been
toxic?
in that position a lot, I think.
And toxicity is there. It even depends. Sometimes you meet a toxic workplace.
You can be the toxic
workplace. Exactly. How do you know this is a toxic place?
How do you know that you are dying?
You feel
when you die now.
Say when you die, you figure out.
You know that I don't die.
So for you, right? What are the various red flags you look at for?
I mean, first of all, I've not been in a lot of those situations.
My bad. I take a split.
Okay, so
I take it back.
the few red flags I have at the top of my mind. Number one would be communication, because there are some people that, if you want to talk about communication, like it's a lot, but there are some people that don't know how to communicate, right? And
simply put,
being able to communicate, being able to give actionable feedback, emphasis on actionable feedback, because I have shown you a design and you tell me it doesn't pop.
You not give now.
It's not giving.
I'm not feeling
okay,
it.
if it's not giving, what should I do?
The design is not bougie.
But also,
it's not bougie.
The design is not bougie. What do you mean?
This people needs a lot of education.
How do I make this work? Is it you're the designer? This one, that one. Figure it out. Now I'll go and figure it out and come back, and you still tell me it doesn't pop, right? So for me, I look out for communication from the first contacts that we have, the first conversation that we have. Personally, I try to study the people that I work with. So as I'm talking to you, maybe you're trying to brief me on the project, I'm asking you a few questions, I'm noticing the way you're answering them. Someone that gives direct feedback and actionable feedback. Okay, so for this design, I think I don't like this landing page. For this hero section, I'm thinking you should put this button here, or I'm looking for a situation where if somebody comes, they would be able to read all about maybe a summary of what my company does. That kind of gives you an idea on what to work on. So there is that feedback and communication. Then the other people are the people that will call you after work hours.
12 p.m.
That's a red flag.
12 a.m. Sorry.
The end.
That's a red work hours. I mean, outside of the calls after work hours, like those ones would also want to hop on calls every now and then. I mean, we just had a call. Allow me to think. Allow me to process. Allow me to reiterate on what you
ideas
worked
are
on.
coming in.
You're just calling me back to back and asking me for how am I supposed to give you feedback? Please, how? Like, it can work in some because some settings, right? It's a very fast-paced environment, but even in the fast-paced environment, it still gives you some time to think and reiterate.
Is okay. Where this is fast-paced. Is see. Thank you for bringing. Where is the thin line between this word everybody usually use in this industry? Fast-paced. But you won't use me. Not use the word fast-paced environment. Fast-paced. You won't read me. You won't read me. They use English. It's bougie. Where's the thin line between fast-paced environment and a bad work culture?
And a toxic environment.
And a toxic environment. A toxic place. and fast pace.
Where you have to be working.
Where is that thing like?
12 hours, 24 hours a day.
I think
my bad. I think we'll break it back. What's fast paced environment? That thing for you?
Yeah. So fast paced, right?
Because every job requirement you see, you should be able to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for startups especially.
Yes, fast paced environment.
The way I can
work under
define
pressure.
fast paced for design is you get feedback from the market,
You treat.
and based on that you want to experiment.
Yeah, true.
So as a designer you have like your main design, then you have a Figma file or a page for experiments. It makes sense. I like that. I like things like that. But fast paced is not when let's design it like this. Tomorrow, no. Let's design it like this.
But it's fast.
But it's no, the feedback are coming very
But we are
fast.
shipping now.
We are shipping now. Are we fast or not?
That's confusing the workflow.
You're fast, but that is not actually fast. So I think people think that startups should be, for me, startups should be fast-paced, crazy, and everything. Yes, but in your fast pace, in your craziness or speed, you can have structure.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we are fast. We are doing things
fast.
fast. When you do things fast, that you go break. Like you go eventually you break. Like things you discover that you have to rewrite your code base again. You get.
I think it's always difficult for developers as well because why for designers is easy. You can easily like redesign a feature. Imagine that you spent like the last 8 weeks building a feature, and your guy just pop up from somewhere and say, this feature no work, let's build again.
Start on the market.
Bruh.
AI.
We'll launch it later.
I'm going from a fintech company to AI.
Yeah,
How
chatbot
now?
power payment.
How?
That's it.
So that's also it affects the morale of your
you don't get conscience.
no.
That's wickedness. Like
In fast pace, you signed up for fast pace.
You signed up for
And
fast.
You said in your resume
I think
that
I
work
work
under
under
pressure.
The first time I saw
you know
working
them,
fast
I don't
pace-
come out of my resume.
the first time I saw
You cannot work
working
under pressure.
was when this guy, there was a scenario whereby we were doing this particular hackathon-ish thing at CCO, right? We decided, or our boss decided to choose a particular project to build for the hackathon. Yeah, everybody left that particular session. He came and said, "You see that thing? If we build down in this hackathon, straight to the top,
Wow.
we are winning it."
Wow.
Fast-paced environment. So my guy,
Off the records, I know that guy.
you know that guy.
Oh no.
Oh, perfect. I might give you the gist later. So fast pace. So we breathe in fast pace. So I will tell you between fast pace
Nonsense.
and nonsense. And also that thin line, you have that
He
thin
does,
line.
yeah.
I will tell you. I'll give you the whole scenario. Then and also whereby even after you do finish, you cook beans. I understand that working under pressure, you move from your CV. That's the first time I saw it in real life. So we built up that project. I think in 3 days or 3 days hackathon each team. And I think we extended a bit for us to stay around. Then the final part of where you have to pitch in an hackathon, or you have to pitch in an hackathon.
Yeah.
So our boss went on stage, and the lead of the project went on stage to do the pitch. I think he was the one handling the demo of the project. So you have like nest. So we got to the place to display the
product
itself. The main leave the landing page. Anybody can do landing page. So the main place to display. I think even use a new technology that particular day to build that project. So we clicked on Nest on the project to show us like I think to show a data, a map of where some stuff should be in. So we clicked on the Nest. The Nest brought us back to the beginning of the landing page again. So maybe it's small issue, just a technical issue. We refresh, go on Nest again. Yeah, brought us back to the beginning. Have you ever been in a scenario whereby engineers from World Bank is there, people from NIDA are there, top software engineers, I mean senior engineers are there, and they came and they went behind you, and they were asking you,
they were looking at you like,
you look at your code base, what's the problem? What's the problem? Have you tried? That's the first time I heard the word Git rebase. They white engineering. That's the first time I heard that word. I learned Git rebase. That have you tried this? Have you done this? You be hearing opinions I've not heard about before. Fast-paced environments, working under pressure. I've seen him. Do this. Do the code this way. Try implementing this. Try implementing that. All in the space of 2 to 3 minutes. So at that point, I've understand that fast pace. With that Oga was fast pace. We did fast pace and we built nonsense. No, we didn't even test the product. We were testing the product.
No, we tested actually, but
when you merged, you didn't test.
There was a conflict.
So you basically cooked beans.
It wasn't beans. It wasn't beans. The issue was that
it was plantain with plantain.
The issue was that the last PRO we merged before the demo, that was the whole issue. So we did not, in terms of the review, I think the person that merged that last PRO, I wasn't the one responsible for merging that last PRO. I just said, okay, just review it and merge it. When you feel it's okay, just merge it. That was how we merged it. And then only for me to realize that they've replaced the whole project that we're working for the past 3 days with something else.
You see why it's good to have Oga-Centered products? If he was doing Oga-Centered products, I didn't give power to that person to review.
But I wasn't the Oga.
I know Oga of the. You're beyond building now. When they don't building, they don't lead the engineering. They don't lead the engineering team. If there was this structure that say Oga-Centered product and engineer, it would have been the one to review that particular product, and that beans would not have been cooked. It would have been maybe rice. So on one perspective, maybe Oga-Centered product.
So how do we now define? Like, okay, so do we say that if you hear fast pace, maybe you are just speaking to HR during interview, please question. Let that be one of the questions you have. What do you mean by fast pace? I'm saying official go call tomorrow. Can we are we ready tomorrow?
So fast pace is actually not a bad word in the research.
It's not about that. That's why I said you need to know what it means.
It basically means working fast pace basically means being able to ship features of your product as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So usually in software engineering, there's this agile methodology that we use called. We usually have every 2 weeks, depending on the company or depending on the team practicing it. There's something called sprint.
Yeah.
A sprint lasts for 2 weeks, and that sprint you're supposed to like ship a small feature of your product for the next 2 weeks. So it happens every 2 weeks. So that's the kind of fast-paced environment that, okay, we ship this feature these 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks, we're planning our next feature and shipping it.
I think companies, especially small companies, they need to know that fast-paced makes sense, but you have to build a structure to be fast. You don't just say you want to be fast.
If there's no structure,
you need your components, you need your system in place, you need like a lot of things in place so that as you just have a feature, just have an idea, it's easy to just build and launch.
Yeah, right? So does that necessarily mean that as you're building those structures, you have people that would manage them?
I don't get money.
I'm speaking on behalf of startups.
You need to have leads.
No, building structure.
Whenever get user.
So for a company that doesn't have anybody, they can't hire anybody. You don't really need money to build.
You need money to build. Depends on the structure.
Startup founder. Nigerian startup founder.
Building structure simply means processes. So it's not what I mean is that before our code base, we need to. I don't know. I can't use technical terms for. Okay, let me leave code alone. Let me speak of design. Right. Building structure simply means that we need a design system. No designer designs something that is not outside our system. What that simply means is that if there's a new feature, an engineer can reuse components already built and we launch. So system means that design, we must try as much as possible to use things in our system. Right? Then also, of course, you have releases. How do we want to release? How do we want to test? So infrastructure or structure is processes. Not really. And of course, the bigger you are, the more structures and the more processes you put in place.
So based on all of this we've said in terms of this toxic environment and Oga-Centered product, so do you have any examples or personal stories about when a boss went too far? I mean, I've heard of a story where the boss was calling somebody by 12 a.m. in the middle of the night. The employee picked the call, say, Oga, you're not supposed to call me by this. Oga said, I mean, own you. I pay your salary and I own you. I have to pick my call anytime. So have you had any experience like that in terms of, maybe you were underpaid by your boss, that you did not do this thing well, so this month I'm not paying you your full money. This I'm going to say now is going to talk about toxic. What was the topic again? Horrible boss. And what's the other one? Oga-Centered. But it's more about so which one are we talking about? Combine all of them plus toxic. Anyone a collabo.
So this one, I will just give one example of somebody So I think it depends on the company. But I'm going to mention this story, right? Where somebody said that a guy, okay, it's someone that traveled out. I'm just going to mention this story and I'll get to my story. A guy traveled out, and based on our Nigerian vibe, we get energy, we like work. So the guy was going to work, and on Saturday, like, it was coming. So one of the Saturdays he came around to do his work. One of the bosses saw him and was like, "What are you doing here?" It was like he's trying to like finish his backlog of tasks. Because if I see you here again,
I'll break your leg.
No, Usaki. So that's like so you get typically some bosses will be happy to see you on Saturday. Like I have somebody
zero work-life balance.
I have somebody who had that experience. He said that his boss told him that, like, if you keep coming like this on weekends to work,
we go make
very soon you become a beast. Like, okay, now to my
horrible
boss.
Okay,
now to my horrible
double promotion.
Now to my horrible boss story. So, it was time zone issues, Sha.
Okay.
So the time fell, like, it fell at midnight. Like, for me it was in the night, but it was still even outside work hours. But I still accepted because I was quite new. It was contracted. It was quite new, and I was trying to, like, okay, let me see how this would turn out, right? But what happened was that how did the project even go? I forgot the details, but in summary, let me just speak to the toxic part. What happened was that something happened, and the pressure. Okay, I remember the story now. So
hit us.
I designed. My role was design. I designed. After a few days, and can you build this?
Yes.
Wait, my page. No, now website. Can you build this?
We frame up.
Based on say I just started work now. I want.
Impress.
Say yes. I have experience with no code. I use Webflow. I can say okay. Pay, they're not going to pay for web. Can you use your Webflow account?
You have a Webflow account, right?
Yes. Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah, fine. So, when I enter Webflow, I won't die. I know that you see. So and I made him a promise that I would deliver, right? So I knew that this thing would no longer be possible. So I didn't inside boat with AC. I did sweat. And the reason because that time, like, so on the call I was like,
you can't.
This thing is not possible. So it was not. It was like.
But that was not part.
But you said you can't.
That was not part of the initial.
Yes,
project brief
I am a
and stuff.
designer, right? So it was like. But you said, I was like, I know, but...
I know what I said, but I didn't say...
So it was like, okay, fine. How long can you learn this thing in one day? Like, I was like, no. He said, no. We need this thing as soon as possible. After that call, I just sat down. It was during one of your programs, like CM Fest.
Yeah, I think.
Back in Lagos.
I remember that scenario.
Okay. So, on that night, everybody just play game. I just did. The reason my life, see, guy, money for your life. Money
at some point it has to be your life.
For me to sweat inside boats, right? And they don't give me ridiculous deadline to build a website with no codes tool that I knew how to use, but in this project I cannot build this thing, and they're expecting me to deliver. So I decided to resign. Now this is where the toxicity came in. So I sent a message that based on XYZ, I can't continue like this. I think I should. I want to leave, right?
You want to leave.
My expectation is that you should know. What's up? Was the project like? Was the timeline like? The next thing, log out. Teams,
if you want to go.
Email, log out. Like, so they just
wait, but did they reply to you or they don't log you
out? I don't see reply. As I get your read the message.
Did they pay you?
I'm about to now over the next 1 month.
Wow.
I started using my personal email to mail them. I was like, pay me in alpha, right? Eventually went back and forth. They did not want to pay me the whole amount. Went back and forth here and there. So in terms of toxicity, in this instance, it's like crazy expectations and ethics.
Yeah.
You are supposed to respond and even know why I want to quit. Even if at the end of the day I quit, but like you get, I think people have experience with that. So yeah, that's my experience.
I think we'll be wrapping up.
Yeah.
They know they want Jesus.
Let's wrap up.
At this point, I will say our bosses, they are
Yeah.